Hello and welcome to this Lone Wolf Season 38 Round 1 highlights video. For those who don't know what Lone Wolf is, it's an online league, it's played on Lichess, it's one round per week with a time control of 30 minutes plus 30 seconds per move. The players agree on a time during the week, and when they find the date they will play at this arranged time. So last week the new season started, season 38, and I am going to do a highlights video of each round. While in the later rounds I will focus on the fight for the first place. In the first rounds I will focus on some upsets during the round. Well, let's go into the chess, and first into the pairings. Here we can already see the results, and I will go to the first board where there was an upset. A minor upset, it was board 7. Here Laska Blanca played against Susie Dent, and in this position black was a pawn up, and here he had to make a crucial decision how to continue from this position. And he decided for rook d5. I found that quite naturally when I saw the move, but unfortunately for him this was not the right move. A4 and then E5, and then we got to a situation where black tried to advance with his majority on the king side, but it was to no avail and the game fizzled out to a draw. Instead, in this position black should have played rook d2, attacking both f2 and a2. They didn't go for that because after rook a4, rook takes f2, white of course gets the a6 pawn. But this situation is much better than the game. Here we have 4 against 2 on one side and 1 against 0 on the other side. And I could show you a line, but I think it's not worth it. It's just the general concept. Black will advance his kingside pawns, and in the end he will get the 2 against 0 against on the king side, while white still has only 1 pawn on the queen side, and this should yield to a win. At least the engine is clear with the verdict. It gives minus 2.5 if rook d2 is played. But as I already said, rook d5 was played in the game, and the game fizzled out to a draw. So Laska Blanca got a draw against his almost 200 elo higher opponent. The next minor upset was on board 11, and unfortunately this was my board. I played here with black against Ben Kenobi 0-4, and we got a Dutch opening. I got some pressure with black, and right here white made an inaccuracy with knight d3. And here I started to calculate, and I looked at the line rook takes f3, king takes f3, knight takes d3 check, and thought, well, is this enough for the exchange? I'm not sure. And so I went for knight takes d3. And as soon as I played knight takes d3, I realized, oh, the knight is attacking the rook. And I realized I should have gone for rook takes f3 check, bishop takes f3, knight takes d3 check, followed by knight takes c1. And black is just a pawn up and has very good winning chances. After knight takes d3 check, bishop takes d3. Bishop takes d3. I made a further inaccuracy and I took the bishop on c3. I was just under the impression, okay, I will exchange the dark square bishops, and then I will clamp down on the dark squares with rook f4 and g5, and rook a f8. My king can possibly come to e5, and I will have good winning chances. Well, the problem is, after bishop takes, rook takes, I first have to defend this pawn here, so I played a4. And now white found the very good move king g3, preventing rook f4, and after my g5 he went f4 by themselves, and yeah, after further exchanges the position was just equal and I wasn't able to push for the win. So instead of bishop takes c3, it was better here to play rook f4 immediately, just going for this g5. It doesn't matter if white exchanges. This exchange of the bishop can happen at a later point because the white bishop cannot move anyway because of the hanging pawn on b2. So kudos to my opponent, Ben Kenobi 04, which got the draw against me. So the next board I want to show you is, now I have to look a bit, where is it? Yeah, it's board 21. It's the last minor upset I will show, a draw on board 21. Because this was really an interesting position. So I just showed the final phase of the game here. White has 2 rooks for the queen. And it's really an exciting position. And white went here for a checkmate with rook h7, possibly hinting at rook c7, rook h8 checkmate. But this was not the correct or not the most precise move order. Instead, he should have played first rook d7, threatens rook d8 check, and only after king e8 white should go to h7, and now white is threatening rook h8 check, rook c7 check, and rook h6 checkmate. And black can only sacrifice the queen here. If instead of king e8 black would play like in the game, g3, then the difference is now rook d8 check happens, king e7, bishop g5 check, king f7, and now I think rook c7 check will lead to a quick mate. Yes, king g6, rook g8 check, king h5, rook h7 check, and bishop e3 is checkmate. Yeah, after rook h7, black plays g3, and now here rook h8 is not working because of king g7, and there is obviously no mate. And white is still winning here, but now it's a bit more difficult. They should have played f3, sacrificing this pawn on d4, and now white can somehow play for the mate, although they must be aware of this back rank, so rook c7 is not possible, but somehow white is able to win here. Instead, f takes g3 was played, queen takes d4 check, and now the position is roughly equal, maybe a bit better for black even. And some moves later, here white made a blunder with king h3. They should have played rook g1 to cover g2. After king h3, black is winning, but it was very difficult. In this position, black should have found bishop f3 check, king f4, and now e5 check. The point is that after king takes e5, there is queen b2, I think. And the white king is hunted down. And with some checks, if I remember correctly, I analyzed it with the engine, black is able to get to this bishop on h6 and capture it, and afterwards has queen and bishop against 2 rooks, which is winning. Instead, queen e2 was played, and the players headed for a perpetual check, which is probably the fair end to this game. Yeah, white, the lower rated player, almost got the win here, but in the end could have also lost. A very wild game, really exciting. So now let's go to 2 bigger upsets. The first one happened on board 23. And that was this position here. George Emberson with white played against Chatakuma. And black was a bit careless here with g6, not sensing the danger. Black should have played a5 to be able to play knight b4. And then after rook a1, attack the enemy queen with rook ac8, and there will be some exchanges and the position is equal. Instead, g6 was played, and white plays queen c3, now really indicating at this rook a1, and the queen on a2 is trapped, and it doesn't look like there is an easy solution for black. And I think they looked here for one, but they didn't find it. Played knight a5, and the position was lost, as we will see later. Instead, black has this incredible defense, rook fc8, and after rook a1, the knight can go Now let me think where the knight had to go. I think knight d8, attacking the queen, attacking the rook, and white may get a small advantage out of here. The engine gives plus 0.8, but black is still alive. After knight a5, there just happened rook b5, attacking the knight, and after knight c4, rook a1 finally traps this queen, and white was able to convert some moves later. So now let's go to the final highlight of round 1. I will always pick 5 games each round. And this final game I will show to you was at a lower board. It was on board 27. Klavier 88 played against Yakamashi. And I will just show the finish, and you will see why I just show the finish. There was this position here. And yeah, white is a piece up. They were a piece up the whole game essentially. Black sacrificed a piece for the attack, but it didn't work out. And now here in this position, white could have had I would say easy win with knight takes e5, with the point that after d takes e5 you are not allowed to let the black king to the corner, otherwise it's a well-known fortress. But instead white has bishop h7, preventing the king from coming to g7 or g8 or even g6, and some moves later the white king will help and the pawn can promote. Instead, and that's why I have to show this game, you don't see this very often, they played h7 and won the pawn on d6. But the problem here is white cannot make easily progress, and here they decided to just go for the infamous knight and bishop versus king endgame. I think there was a possibility to somehow promote the pawn with king g6, and somehow you can block on f6 or g7. There are some moves here. With the bishop it should somehow be possible, but it's difficult. I think h8 queen was a practical decision, but you should know how to win this. But Klavier 88 really showed that he knows this endgame. He played this absolutely flawlessly. Let's see it how he did it. King g7, knight f7, king h7, king f6, king g8. Now the king is in the wrong corner, so here on h8 it cannot be checkmated. It has to be driven to the a8 square, and white does that with bishop g6, king f8, bishop h7. The black king must go to the queen side, king e8, knight e5, king d8. This is the breakout try from black. I think this is the best chance in this endgame for the weaker side. And white played bishop e4. This is perfectly fine. In my chessable course, Endgame Terminator, I recommend the move king e6, and after king c7 just play knight e7, because what I like about this is you continue the typical W maneuver with the knight, which is very famous for this endgame. And here after king c6 there is bishop d3, preventing black from getting out. And after, let's say, king c7, bishop b5, the king will be driven to the edge and be checkmated. But what white did in this game was also completely fine. Bishop e4, and after king c7 there is knight c4, and the knight and bishop create a barrier for the black king, and the black king cannot get out. King d7, king f7, king d8, king bishop c6, sorry. And yeah, let's just see the final moves of the game. The black king was driven to the corner, and here finally we see the checkmate. Now the typical king c7 was played, king a7, knight c6 check, king a8, bishop b7 mate. You don't see a knight and bishop checkmate every day, so I had to show this. With this I would like to conclude this video, and I hope you will also turn in on the video of the next round's highlight. Thank you for watching.